you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you...
Hello everyone!
Welcome to our second vlog. This week, we will be talking about our camp experience. Today's
Thursday, and we left for camp last
Friday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
I think last
Friday.
Thursday to Friday to Wednesday. So it was about a week.
Yeah. So, right now we're dressed up because we're going to go out to celebrate how great camp was. And so right now we're just going to tell you about camp. So first we're going to start with our expectations of what we thought camp was going to be like. So Jess, what were your thoughts?
Going into this camp, we kind of knew that obviously the culture here is very different than America. Happy 4th of July, by the way.
Happy 4th. It's
4th of
weird
July.
celebrating here, but there's a lot of people here that wear American flag shirts and stuff. It's kind of really weird. And at camp, they started chanting USA all the time. That was really fun. But anyway.
It was hilarious. So anyways, obviously things here are a lot different than America, but especially the youth culture. They surprised us, actually. We were expecting to be surprised, and then we were surprised on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything specifically?
Well, part of my expectation just comes with, because I've worked at a summer camp the last 2 summers, and so I guess I didn't put much of what I've done before into my expectations for this time because I knew it would be totally different, and I didn't want to do that. But there were a lot of similarities in that. But I guess just to go off what Jess said, they warned us, like, these kids that come are different than you expect youth to be. They come from a little bit rougher backgrounds. They are going to swear quite a bit, and like Americans usually are taken aback by that and stuff. But beyond that, I just had this vague picture, I guess, but I didn't really have many expectations.
In general, the staff are a lot more lenient on the rules. So if kids are fighting about something, they're much less willing to jump in and kind of try to sort it out.
That was a British
word,
term
I'm
here,
sorry.
sort it out.
But they're more willing to allow the kids to kind of work it out themselves. So if they start something, they kind of have to finish it, unless things get really carried away. But for the most part, they're on their own with just solving their own problems and not having help from adults with a lot of that kind of thing.
But we'll get into some of that in a little bit too.
Right. Because
we didn't expect that.
Right.
Okay. So the next thing is the program. So I guess I can start a little bit. This is just explaining like the logistics, like what happened at camp. So we got to camp early Friday morning and just set up, and we pretty much transformed the gym at the center. We went away to an activity center. It was like a boys' brigade camp.
The Ganaway Activity Center.
Yeah, it wasn't like a set camp that runs all the time. We kind of went in to use their facility. Mm-hmm. But we took the gym and we just transformed it into look just like a drop-in center. So we brought in couches everywhere. We had carpets that had been donated to us and just laid them out in one area.
And the walls were completely covered with movie posters.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part.
And we had like foosball, air hockey, pool, and we had TV set up with video games, and we had another screen set up for Just Dance, and so it was just complete like youth hangout areas. And so we did that. The young people came, we checked them in, then also to kind of describe it was 4 or 5 groups from different drop-in centers around Northern Ireland. So it'd be comparable to like 5 different youth groups coming together and then doing camp together. So when we came, we split them into groups so that they were mixed together, and then us as well as the drop-in leaders were their leaders for their little groups, and we had teams, and the teams competed all week and doing all different kinds of things, and everything was points. And in the morning we had, what did we, go through a day, Leah.
A typical day was absolutely filled with different activities. We had an actual set schedule, and literally there was no downtime for the kids. They were constantly doing an activity, which meant a lot of work for the leaders, but it was such a good weekend that it all worked out. But we woke up around 7:45 for a meeting, so the leaders all had a team meeting and breakfast together and planned the day. And then at 9 o'clock is when the campers had their breakfast, and then they went straight out to challenges and activities. There were events throughout the entire day, and the kids had an opportunity to go kayaking, canoeing, go on some high ropes, low ropes, archery, mini golf,
Zip line, laser, clay pigeon
ATVs.
shooting. Like, they had so many opportunities to do some really fun stuff. As well as just the little games we played back at the center and everything. On the last full day, that night we split up boys and girls, and the boys went out and went camping, and the girls stayed in and baked muffins, or they call them buns, and made some crafts and stuff, which sounds really simple and whatever, maybe even boring, but it wasn't boring. We had a really good time, and played Just Dance, and it was just a great time, and ordered Chinese and stuff. So really the program was really packed with stuff. We were exhausted all the time, but that's how camp is. You're always running on empty and constantly excited. So yeah, moving on to relationships and kind of then getting to know the kids. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
I didn't necessarily have any expectations going to camp, but I didn't think that I would, in the 5 days we were there, 6 days, I didn't think that I would really develop any relationships. I thought it would be more just seeing people in passing and starting to recognize faces, because there was about 60 campers, so I didn't think that they were going to really reach out to the leaders. I thought they were going to stay more in their separate groups and stuff. But the kids, they completely embraced us as leaders, and they loved the American foreigners and asked us so many questions about America. What's America like? Do you know my uncle in Canada? And all this awesome stuff. So we had great opportunities just to spend time talking to them and just breathing God into them and just being good role models. And it was just great to develop these relationships with the kids because they looked forward to spending time with us. And when we both were leaders of challenges, I know that the kids looked forward to going to Jess's challenge or Taylor's challenge. They got to see their favorite foreign leaders, and it was just really cool seeing how excited they were to get to know us, and we were just so blessed to have that opportunity.
I feel, for me, at first, the first couple of days, I felt really awkward. I felt like in previous camp experiences, I was, when the campers came, I just started to be crazy right off the bat, just yeah, camp, and really excited. And there were a couple other leaders that were like that, and I just loved that they were like that, because for me it was a little bit difficult to do that, because I still didn't know how to adapt to this culture. I still didn't know what was acceptable and what wasn't, because they were crazier than I was used to. It was okay, do I call that out, or do I tell them to knock it off, or is that fine? So I kind of was staying back and really observing the other leaders to see what they did first, and so I was a lot quieter at first. And part of that, I don't know, kids can be, or young people, teenagers can be intimidating sometimes, and so but it was probably the third day we were there that I really started to connect with them, that during craft time I'd sit down and talk with them and then recognize more faces and more names, and the guys in my group and the girls, and it was just so great to get to know all them and to finally feel like I was accepted. I know that's a silly thing, as it's our job as leaders to try to make the young people feel like they're accepted, but really they made me feel like I was accepted too, and then the relationship started, and that's where you connect. In addition, what we forgot to mention as part of the program was each night we had a little chapel time where we got all of the young people rounded up into the chapel, and got them to hear from our speaker Chris, who is also one of the leaders, and he talked about encountering Jesus and what that looks like. Most of these kids, if they had heard anything about Jesus, it was very minimal. So this was a really good opportunity for them, and to show that Jesus encountered people in the Bible times, but he also encounters people today. And so each night he interviewed one of the leaders, and they talked about a little bit of their experience with God. And I think that was really, really neat for the kids, for the young people to see. And yes, so that also brings us to our next topic of Jesus. So do you want to talk about kind of their spiritual stuff?
Yeah. Well, going into camp, obviously it's run by Youth for Christ, so I was expecting there to be some levels of spirituality going on, some Christianity, like topics and that kind of thing. I knew that there was going to be the chapels every night, but I wasn't fully expecting to see how amazing God was going to work on this trip. It was absolutely phenomenal to see throughout the process of the week that we were there, to see the growth of the kids. And the last night we were there, they all received an opportunity to accept Jesus, and 28 of them, I think, ended up going up to the front. And it was a night when there was not a dry eye in the entire room, and everyone was emotional. And the kids, there was one boy specifically that I was watching who the entire week he had just been stone-faced, and I had never seen him smile. And this night he had tears streaming down his face, and he was just smiling, and it was just the sweetest thing I've ever seen, just seeing him like open up his heart to God. And it was such a powerful time for a good conversation, and the kids really opened up to us and shared a lot about their lives and the different struggles they face. And it was just such a great opportunity to see how God is using Youth for Christ here to reach the young people.
I think one of the most powerful things about that night was that those who were experiencing tears maybe didn't know what was going on, but Chris explained to them, like, tears is one way that people encounter God. And to see a lot of the boys especially crying, and those who were crying, if they did kind of know what was going on, if they knew that the Spirit was wrestling in their hearts and stuff, the thing that I just noticed is that the Irish people, they are tough. They like pick on each other all the time. They like start punching each other, and they're just fine. And they hardly ever cry. So the fact that so many of them were crying, I think, was a little alarming to them. And to the ones who didn't really respond, who weren't ready, it really shook them up in a way of like confusing them, because they're like, why is everyone crying? And like there was a boy next to me who was sleeping through all the chapels. He missed the whole talk, and then he woke up when everyone kind of went forward and was crying, and he wanted to get out his phone to take a picture of some of the other boys who were crying. Like, so he thought it was funny, but it still like shook him up, you know. And people were, even those that were crying, still were like, I don't even know, like, I don't think I've cried this much. So it wasn't just an emotional experience though, because many of the drop-in leaders were able to talk through exactly what it meant, what they were doing. And it's also a great opportunity because these kids aren't just going to leave and go about their regular lives. I mean, they might, but the point is that their leaders knew that they made this decision, and they will be doing follow-up ministry with them. So they'll be checking in on them, saying like, are you, how are you doing on this? Because this is the time they're going to need the most support, the most prayer. So first of all, thank you for all your prayers, because they were totally answered already, and we still have 4 or 5 weeks to go. And secondly, we still need a lot of prayer for them, because they're going to go through a hard time, and Satan's going to be really attacking them. Do you have any other comments?
Another thing is just thank you to all of us that have been supporting us both in prayer and financially, just because we have really been able to see God work, and without the people that have been supporting us, like, we wouldn't be able to experience this and help. So just thank you to everyone that's been praying and supporting financially and that kind of thing.
And including in the little ways, even before camp started, we noticed whenever a little situation came up, like we thought, oh, we should ask for prayer for this, or oh, this is really frustrating, and bam, like within a short amount of time it was answered, like making friends really soon, and having safe travels and little things and figuring out the bus system, which we did do.
We got the bus
We
system
took the bus
down.
system today even, and we got it down. So with that, thank you for watching, and we will have another vlog soon about more cultural things and a little bit more fun stuff.
It'll have more banter in it. Just,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
All right, catch you later, guys.